Hi everyone, this is Colleen from Rose of Swords on Tumblr and Instagram and various other places. And I am coming to you today with Arwen's hashtag April Arwen questions, which I have written down here because I couldn't keep track of them on my screen as well. I am recording this live, so I will try to see the chat in case anyone shows up, but I can't promise you anything. I'm not very good at seeing the chat. But all right, here goes. Question number 1 is, what's your primary reason for pulling out your cards? I think right now I'm still in such an exploratory place with them that I am mostly reaching for personal readings and personal exploration and study. I do a lot of self-care stuff with it, a lot of what do I need to do for me today, but also where do I have room to grow, where can I improve, that kind of thing. So most of it's self-driven, just because my practice hasn't expanded too much beyond that yet. I have a shop, I have my Patreon, but I don't have a lot going on there right now because it's still fairly new, and that's fine. So that's that. So the second question is, do you use your tarot in any way other than reading, like spells, crafts, fancy hat making, etc.? It's super tempting to do the fancy hat making, but I have not done that yet. I do have the remnants of a deck that ended up getting hurt badly and unusable, so maybe I'll make a fancy hat out of some of that. But other than that, I do spells. I'm not sure what is a spell. I'm not sure what counts as a spell, but I definitely do some like glamour stuff with tarot cards, and I definitely use them in my spiritual practice for like communicating with deity and stuff. Which I guess brings us to question 3. If you use tarot as part of your magical practice, can you share some examples? In regards to the glamour stuff, I do something that I call it my personal, I think I've made a post about it, about my personal guard, where when I know I need to do something socially hard, like signing up to go back to school last fall, or any number of other things where it's just something that I am not comfortable and really need to psych myself up to do. The night before, I'll go through all my decks, drag out the cards, and go, okay, who's with me? And I will lay out my chosen army on my desk and take a picture and set that as the lock screen on my phone, so that whenever I need to feel like I have my personal army at my beck and call, I can just look at them. And I think that counts as glamour and spell work. That's probably the main thing I do, is things like that. I do use them for talking to deity a little bit and spiritual spirits and whatnot, but not terribly often. That's all still very new to me. And I'm still figuring out what works for me in that department. But I definitely do a lot of things like the personal guard, where it's like I just need to remind myself that I have all of these powers at my beck and call and I can use them. Number 4 is, how do you explain what tarot is when somebody asks you, and to assume it's in a well-meaning manner? It's a pack of cards. It's a pack of cards, and humans are really, really good at assigning meaning to things where meaning is not inherent. And we make things significant. And over time, this pack of cards has become very significant. It's come to be 78 pieces of the human experience. More of you read reversals. And it's up to you what you want to get out of it. It can be a predictive practice, and it can be more about self-exploration, because it's 78 pictures of human life, or numbers of human life if you're using a pip deck. But it's basically just something we assigned meaning to, and that's in itself pretty magic. So that's usually how I would explain it. Number 5 is, what's your favorite spread to use and why? I kind of have two. I use my own spread, the Introspective Gunslinger, probably the most. Especially when I'm reading for other people. It's become my sort of substitute for the Celtic Cross. I like it because I don't necessarily need a question to read it. And a lot of the times the people who I end up reading for impression are people who are not familiar with tarot, who just, they don't even have a question. They just are kind of curious about the experience. And so this, I'll link it below, but basically there's 6 cards in a circle because there's 6 bullets in a Colt Navy revolver, which is the traditional cowboy gun. And so there's issuing your challenge, which is something that you want to face or do, whatever your aims are, basically. Number 2 is, I think that's the 10 paces. So it's clearing your head. What's in your head? What are you thinking about right now? Where's your headspace? Facing off is the next one, and that is like, it's I'm doing this from the top of my head. I should have prepared better. It's your strengths. It's what you can use to get you through this. The next one is taking aim, taking a first look at what's standing in your way. It's like obstacle number 1, and then the next one is pulling the trigger, which there's always a little bit of resistance when you pull a trigger, and so it's what's making things difficult. Why is this such a hard thing to do? What's your stumbling block? Because everyone has a stumbling block in most situations. And then the last one is bang, which is your sort of the heart of the matter, which, because it's on a diagonal to your strength, you can really call back to your strength to address it. And I like that spread because you can read really nicely with reversals for it, or without. It works really well both ways. And I do like to add a 7th card in the middle that's usually from another deck as a significator of sorts, which is just sort of you in this situation. And I like to draw that at the end. It could be like an oracle card too, I guess. And then my other most favorite spread is, there was a spread that Raven McGill did a while ago in the shape of a ghost, about facing fears. And in my personal practice, I've used that many, many, many times. It's one of the most useful spreads for doing your own soul searching. It's not necessarily one I would want to do for a client, but it is one that I want to do for me quite frequently, as someone who is very human and very prone to anxiety and fear. So those are my favorite spreads. Name a famous, currently living person who embodies one of the following cards for you. Hermit, Star, or Justice. I feel like everybody's been saying, oh, but I don't really follow. But then we always think of someone anyway. I think, based purely on some interviews and stuff that I've read with her, that Laura Marling would be a really good person to embody the sort of spirit of the hermit. She comes across as being very shy, and she definitely has said that, she's kind of withdrawn. It's not that she dislikes people, it's just that she's kind of a loner and she does well alone. But she also has this, she seems to know herself very well. And because she knows herself, she seems to know the human experience very well and has this very wise quality to her, and it comes across in her music really, really well. But that's like the only thing I can think of for this one, so we'll move onwards. I don't know if she really counts as being well known and famous because she's kind of independent, but some people know her. Number 7. Have you ever read in a crowded, noisy, chaotic environment? How did it go for you? I have. I have read at a friend's birthday party a couple of times. And it wasn't terrible. It was a very relaxed setting. The only issue I had with it was not about the readings themselves, but the lack of privacy. It's definitely one of those things where I relied on my no questions needed kind of spreads because I didn't want to put anyone in an uncomfortable position where they felt like they had to talk about what was going on in their lives if it was difficult or hard. And so it wasn't the noise and the chaos. I think that if I was reading like professionally, where there was like, you know, like the cartoon fortune teller booth at the fair or whatever, that would be fine if it wasn't like everyone else was watching, and that would be better. But other than that, I think there wasn't really an issue with the noise or the chaos. I think I'm okay with that. I hope I am, because I'm going to start doing more things like a fortune telling booth at a fair in the future. So hopefully that'll be a thing. Number 8 is, do you have any type of ritual, meaning repetitive, do it every time, and or something done with spiritual intent before you read? Not that I can stick to. I do, when I'm struggling to focus, like to light a candle first, because there's something about striking a match on a box that really pulls me into the moment. But I wouldn't call that a ritual, and I definitely wouldn't call that spiritual intent. I would just call that I have trouble focusing. And I have learned how to focus myself. And I definitely don't do it every single time. Number 9 is draw a card to answer this question. What is my next best step, universe? So, let me figure out which deck is actually closest and within reach. So we'll do. Most of my decks are on the other side of the room. I didn't think this through. But there were a few on the desk. Apologize in advance if I riffle shuffle in anyone's ears. There we go. Ace of Swords. I always think of this card as just cut the crap. It's very like this. There's no time here for lies. There's no time here for fancy footing around the truth. Just be straightforward and get things done. No one's got time for bullshit. Pardon my language. So, my next step, cut the crap. I feel like that's a pretty normal message for me. So, question number 10. How do you think you can personally improve your reading skills? By reading more? both the cards, but also books and studying. And I think that the worst thing anyone can do for themselves when they're learning anything is to think that there's a time when they're done learning. It's really all about continuing and going. There's always something more. There's always going to be people who know something that I haven't thought of yet. I'm definitely not one of those people who throws out the book when they get a deck. I'm one of the people who's like, I will work with it on my own now that I've got a good grounding of the cards. I will do that. But I will also go back and read the book after a while and really appreciate the intent behind it, because there's going to be something that just, it didn't occur to me, but it might still resonate. And it might be something that I could draw on when reading for somebody else, even if it doesn't resonate with me personally. So I think that just for myself, but also for anyone, just knowing that I'm never done, knowing that you're never done, that there's always something more to learn, and being open and excited about it. So that's it. I've been really enjoying seeing everybody else's responses to this, and I guess there'll probably be more of them. And that's all. Hope you all are having a good one. All right. Bye.